Marcus Bellamy thought he'd lost his daughters forever. Not to death, but to something worse. Silence. The kind that settles into a house like fog and never lifts. For 19 months, his triplets, Ivy, Grace, and Ruby, hadn't spoken a single word. Hadn't laughed. Hadn't cried out loud. 3 little girls locked inside their grief, holding hands in the dark. But when Marcus walked through the door of his Georgetown mansion that cold December evening, he heard something that stopped his heart. Laughter. Children's laughter. His children's laughter. He moved toward the sound, his hands shaking, his throat tight. It was coming from the kitchen. And when he pushed that door open, what he saw broke him. Not because it was wrong, but because it was so unbelievably right. And he had no idea it had been happening for weeks. If you've ever felt like you failed the people who needed you most, if you've ever realized too late that love isn't something you schedule between meetings, then you need to hear this story. Because what happened next will either wreck you or save you. And maybe that's the same thing. Hit that subscribe button right now. Not for me, for yourself. Because some stories change how you see everything. This is one of them. Marcus Bellamy was the kind of man people pointed to and said, "That's what success looks like." Senior partner at Bellamy & Reed, one of DC's most elite law firms. Federal defense contracts. Clients that included senators, tech billionaires, and Fortune 500 companies. His name appeared in the Washington Post. His Georgetown townhouse sat 3 blocks from Dumbarton Oaks, 5 stories of pristine brick and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Potomac River. Everything Marcus touched turned to gold. Except the one thing that mattered. His wife, Lauren, died on a Tuesday morning in June. Cardiac arrest. No warning. She'd been making breakfast, blueberry pancakes, the girl's favorite, when she collapsed on the kitchen floor. By the time the ambulance arrived, she was gone. Marcus was in a deposition in Baltimore. He got the call at 9:47 a.m. He didn't make it home until 11:30. By then, his 3 daughters had already changed. Ivy, Grace, and Ruby. 4 years old. Identical triplets with honey brown skin, tight curls Lauren used to braid every Sunday night, and eyes so warm they could melt snow. After Lauren's funeral, they stopped talking. All 3. At the same time. Ivy used to recite every word of The Very Hungry Caterpillar. Grace asked why about everything from thunderstorms to traffic lights. Ruby hummed Disney songs while coloring, her little voice filling the house like wind chimes. Now? Nothing. No words. No questions. No songs. Just 3 little girls holding each other's hands, staring at nothing, like they'd stepped out of the world and forgotten how to come back. Marcus spent a fortune trying to bring them home. Child psychologists from Johns Hopkins, grief counselors from Georgetown University Hospital, specialists who flew in from Boston and San Francisco. Art therapy. Play therapy. Music therapy. He took them to Ocean City, to Hershey Park, to a dude ranch in Montana. He bought them a golden retriever puppy. He built them a playhouse in the backyard that cost more than most people's cars. Nothing worked. The girls stayed locked inside themselves, silent together, like they'd made some sacred pact with their mother's memory that the rest of the world couldn't touch. So Marcus did what desperate men do when they can't fix what's broken. He ran. 16-hour workdays. Depositions. Trials. Business trips to New York, Chicago, London. Anywhere that wasn't that house. Because being home meant sitting in that suffocating silence, watching his daughters slip further away, knowing he'd failed them. The Georgetown townhouse had 6 bedrooms, a chef's kitchen, a library, and a rooftop terrace. But it was the loneliest place on earth. One evening, about 4 months after Lauren's death, Patricia, the housekeeper who'd been with them for 12 years, knocked on Marcus's study door. "Mr. Bellamy, I need to talk to you." Marcus didn't look up from his laptop. "What is it, Patricia?" "I can't do this alone anymore. The house, the girls, they need more than I can give. I need to hire someone. Another set of hands." "Fine. Hire whoever you need." "Thank you, sir." 3 days later, Simone Cross walked through the front door. 31 years old. From Anacostia, Southeast DC, working 2 jobs, cleaning houses during the day, studying early childhood education at UDC at night. Her younger brother had died 2 years earlier. shot outside a corner store on Alabama Avenue. She'd raised his son, her nephew, ever since. Simone knew grief. She knew what it felt like to keep breathing when everything inside you wanted to stop. Marcus saw her once. Maybe twice. Passing in the hallway. She was carrying cleaning supplies, wearing the standard uniform Patricia had given her, navy blue polo, black pants. She nodded. He didn't acknowledge her. But his daughters noticed. Simone didn't try to make them talk. Didn't force smiles or ask questions or try to hug them. She just showed up. Every single day. Folding their clothes. Humming old gospel songs while she cleaned. Making their beds. Being present without demanding anything in return. And slowly, so slowly Marcus never saw it happening, the girls started coming back. In the first week, Ivy stood in the doorway while Simone organized their toys. Just watching. In the second week, Grace sat on the floor while Simone folded laundry, close enough to hear her hum "His Eye is on the Sparrow." In the third week, Ruby left a crayon drawing on Simone's cleaning cart, a yellow butterfly with purple wings. Simone picked it up like it was made of gold. She smiled, taped it to the wall by the window, and whispered, "This is the most beautiful thing I've seen all week, baby girl." And Ruby's eyes flickered. Just a little. Week after week, something sacred was happening. Something quiet. Something Marcus never saw because he was never there. The girls started whispering to Simone. Then talking in full sentences. Then laughing while she put away dishes. By 6 weeks, they were singing again. Simone didn't announce it. Didn't call Marcus to tell him his daughters were healing. She just loved them. Patiently. Gently. The way you water seeds and trust God to bring the bloom. Marcus had no idea. He was in London closing a merger. Exhausted. Stressed. Drowning in spreadsheets and conference calls. He wasn't supposed to come home for 3 more days. But something inside him said go. He didn't call ahead. Didn't text Patricia. Just booked the next flight out of Heathrow and left. When he walked through the front door of his Georgetown townhouse, it was quiet. Like always. He expected nothing different. But then he heard something. A sound. His chest tightened. He stood frozen in the marble entryway, his breath caught in his throat. It couldn't be. The house had been silent for 19 months. But the sound was real. Laughter. Children's laughter. Marcus's hands started shaking. His heart pounded so hard he thought it might crack his ribs. He didn't understand. He couldn't process it. He moved toward the sound, down the hallway faster now, his $2,000 shoes clicking against the hardwood. It was coming from the kitchen. He reached the door. His hand trembled as he gripped the handle. And what he saw inside changed everything. Let me take you back to that moment. To the kitchen. To the sunlight. To the sound that Marcus Bellamy thought he'd never hear again. Winter light poured through the windows, the kind that makes everything look clean and new. Ruby was perched on Simone's shoulders, her little hands tangled in the woman's hair, giggling so hard her whole body shook. Ivy and Grace sat barefoot on the granite counter by the sink, legs swinging, faces glowing like someone had flipped a switch inside them and turned the lights back on. They were singing. Actually singing. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine." Their voices filled the room like a hymn Marcus had forgotten existed. Simone stood at the island folding small violet dresses, humming along with them, smiling like this was the most natural thing in the world. The girls wore matching outfits, lavender with white trim. Their hair was braided. Their cheeks flushed with joy. They looked alive. Marcus stood frozen in the doorway. His briefcase had fallen somewhere behind him in the hallway. He couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. His daughters. Talking. Laughing. Singing. For 3 seconds, something cracked open inside his chest. Relief so powerful it felt like drowning and breathing at the same time. Gratitude. Joy. A feeling he hadn't felt since Lauren died, like maybe God hadn't forgotten them after all. Then Ruby shouted, "Louder, Miss Simone. Sing louder." And something shifted. Marcus didn't understand it. Couldn't name it. But it rose up fast and hot and ugly. Jealousy. Shame. Rage. This woman, this stranger, had done what he couldn't. She'd brought his daughters back from the dead. While he was closing deals and flying across the world, She was here. Loving them. Healing them. Being the parent he should have been. And he hated her for it. What the hell is going on here? Marcus's voice exploded across the kitchen like a gunshot. The singing stopped. Instantly. Ruby's face crumpled. Simone stumbled, her hands shaking as she carefully lifted the little girl off her shoulders and set her down gently. Ivy and Grace froze on the counter, their legs stopping mid-swing. Their eyes went wide with fear. Mr. Bellamy, Simone's voice was quiet, steady, but Marcus could see her trembling. This is completely inappropriate. Marcus's voice cracked. His face flushed red. You were hired to clean. Not to play dress-up and turn my kitchen into some kind of daycare circus. Simone lowered her eyes. I was just spending time with them, sir. They were. I don't want to hear it. Marcus's fists clenched at his sides. Putting my daughters on counters? Carrying them around like that? What if one of them fell? What if something happened? Nothing happened, sir. I was being careful. You're fired. The word came out cold. Final. Pack your things. Leave. Now. Simone stood there for a moment, her hands gripping the edge of the counter. Her eyes were wet, but she didn't argue. Didn't beg. She just nodded. Yes, sir. She walked past Marcus with her head high, shoulders straight, tears slipping quietly down her cheeks. The girls didn't make a sound. They climbed down from the counter slowly, carefully, holding each other's hands. Their faces went blank, empty, like someone had reached inside and turned off a switch. They looked at their father. Really looked at him. And Marcus saw it. Fear. They were afraid of him. Ivy's lip trembled, but no sound came out. Grace gripped her sister's hands tighter. Ruby's eyes filled with tears that fell silently down her face. Then they turned and walked out of the kitchen together, hand in hand, their bare feet padding softly against the floor. The room fell silent. Marcus stood there alone. The violet dresses Simone had been folding were still on the counter. The sunlight that had felt so warm moments ago now felt harsh. Accusing. His legs felt weak. He grabbed the edge of the counter to steady himself. What did I just do? That night, Marcus sat alone in his study. The room was dark except for the lamp on his desk. A glass of bourbon sat untouched in his hand. He stared at the photo on the shelf. Lauren laughing, holding the girls when they were babies. All three of them wrapped in her arms. Her smile so bright it hurt to look at. What have I done, Lauren? His voice cracked. Why did I do that? The silence pressed in from every corner of the house. Heavy. Suffocating. He tried to go back to his routine. Conference calls. Depositions. Contract negotiations. But he couldn't focus. The words on his laptop screen blurred together. His assistant asked him the same question 3 times before he heard her. The house felt different now. Colder. Emptier. The girls had gone back to their old ways, holding hands, staring at nothing, locked inside themselves. They wouldn't look at him during meals. Wouldn't respond when he asked them questions. The silence had returned. And this time, it felt like his fault. 3 days later, Patricia knocked on his study door. Mr. Bellamy, may I come in? Yeah. She entered slowly, closing the door behind her. She didn't bring tea this time. Didn't sit down. Just stood there, arms crossed, looking at him the way a mother looks at a child who's done something terribly wrong. They were talking, Mr. Bellamy. Marcus looked up. What? Your daughters. They were talking to Simone. His chest tightened. I know that, Patricia. I saw them. No. Patricia shook her head. You don't understand. It wasn't just that day. They'd been talking for 6 weeks. The glass slipped from Marcus's hand. It didn't break, just tipped over on the desk. Bourbon spilling across the wood. He didn't move to clean it. 6 weeks. Yes, sir. Full sentences. Stories. Songs. Simone brought them back little by little, every single day. Marcus's hands started shaking. 6 weeks. How? Why didn't anyone tell me? Patricia's voice was soft, but it cut deep. You were never here to tell, Mr. Bellamy. He covered his face with his hands. Oh God. Oh God, Patricia, I destroyed it. I destroyed everything in 10 seconds. Yes, sir. You did. The words hung in the air between them. No comfort. Just truth. Marcus's voice came out broken. What kind of father am I? My daughters were healing, actually healing, and I had no idea. I've been so busy running from this house that I didn't even notice they were coming back to life. Patricia stepped closer. Her voice was quieter now. Mr. Bellamy, do you understand what you did? Those girls trusted Simone. They opened up to her. And you showed them that when you're scared or confused, you hurt the people they love. Marcus looked up, his eyes red. I wasn't thinking. I saw them so happy with her and I felt like I didn't matter anymore. Like I'd been replaced. So you destroyed it? Yes. His voice barely a whisper. I destroyed it. Marcus couldn't sleep. For 3 nights straight, he lay awake staring at the ceiling, replaying that moment in the kitchen over and over. The look on Simone's face. The way his daughters had climbed down from the counter, silent again, afraid of him. He destroyed the one good thing that had happened in 19 months. On the 4th morning, he picked up his phone. Patricia had given him Simone's number, reluctantly. He called. It rang 4 times. Then her voice, cautious. Hello. Simone, it's Marcus Bellamy. Please don't hang up. Silence. I need to apologize. What I did was wrong. Completely wrong. I want you to come back. The girls need you. Mr. Bellamy. Her voice was calm but firm. I can't do that. Please. I'll pay you double. Triple. Whatever you need. This isn't about money. Then what? Tell me what you need and I'll. You can't buy this, Mr. Bellamy. You can't fix it with a check. The line went dead. Marcus sat there, phone in his hand, feeling like the floor had dropped out from under him. He spent the next week barely functioning. Meetings he couldn't focus on. Calls he didn't return. His partners asked if he was okay. He lied and said yes. But every night, he came home to that oppressive silence. His daughters ate dinner without speaking. Went to bed without saying goodnight. They were ghosts again. And it was his fault. Across town in Anacostia, Simone sat in her small 1-bedroom apartment, her nephew asleep on the couch. She'd been crying for an hour. Not because she'd lost a job, she could find another. But because she missed those girls. Ivy's quiet smile. Grace's questions. Ruby's laughter. She'd gotten attached. She knew better, but she had anyway. Her phone buzzed. Another text from Marcus Bellamy. The 5th one today. She didn't open it. She couldn't go back to that house. Not because she didn't love those girls, but because she'd seen what happened when love got punished. And she couldn't do that again. Sometimes we hurt the people who save us. Not because we're cruel, but because seeing someone do what we couldn't makes us feel small. If you've ever pushed away the very person you needed most, you understand what Marcus is feeling right now. You understand that some mistakes can't be undone with money or apologies. They require something harder. Stay with this story. Because what happens next will show you whether redemption is even possible. Marcus stood outside the apartment building in Anacostia, his Mercedes looking painfully out of place on the street. He'd never been to this part of DC before. Not really. Not like this. He climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor, his heart pounding harder with each step. Apartment 3C. He knocked. Footsteps. Then the door opened a crack. Simone stood there, her face guarded. Mr. Bellamy. Please. Just 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. She hesitated, then opened the door wider. 5 minutes. He stepped inside. The apartment was small, clean, modest. A couch. A tiny kitchen. Photos on the wall, family, her nephew, a woman who must have been her mother. Simone, I came to apologize. Not the way I did on the phone. A real apology. She crossed her arms. I'm listening. Marcus's voice cracked. What I did to you in that kitchen, humiliating you, firing you, that was wrong. But the real sin wasn't just how I treated you. It's that I abandoned my daughters. I've been running from them for 19 months because I didn't know how to face their grief. I threw money at the problem. Therapy. Trips. Things. But I never gave them what they actually needed. His hands were shaking now. You did. You showed up every single day and you loved them. And when I saw that, I felt like the failure I am. So I hurt you. I hurt them. And I'm sorry. Simone's eyes were wet, but her voice stayed steady. What's different now, Mr. Bellamy? Why should I believe you won't do it again? Because I can't live like this anymore. I can't keep failing them. He wiped his face. I'm restructuring everything. Fewer hours. No more international trips. I'm going to be home. Actually home. Not just physically, emotionally. Words are easy, Mr. Bellamy. I know. That's why I'm asking you to come back. To hold me accountable. To help me be the father they deserve. Simone studied him for a long moment. If I come back, things will be different. You don't get to disappear into your study. You eat dinner with them. You put them to bed. You show up every single day, even when it's hard. I will. And if you fire me again because you're jealous or scared, I won't. I swear to God I won't. She exhaled slowly. This won't be easy, Mr. Bellamy. Healing takes time. I know. Okay. She nodded. I'll come back. But not for you. For them. That's all I'm asking. Simone returned on a Monday morning. The girls were eating breakfast when she walked through the door. For a moment, they just stared. Then Ruby dropped her spoon and ran. Ivy and Grace followed, all three of them wrapping their arms around Simone's legs, holding on like they'd never let go. Simone knelt down, pulling them close. I missed you girls so much. Marcus stood in the doorway, watching. His throat tight. The first few weeks were hard. The girls were cautious around him now, like he was a stranger they weren't sure they could trust. When he offered to help with puzzles, they hesitated. When he asked about their day, they gave one-word answers. But he kept showing up. Every morning, he made their breakfast. Scrambled eggs, toast, orange juice. He sat with them while they ate, even when they didn't talk. Every afternoon, he came home early. No exceptions. He helped with coloring books, read stories, sat on the floor and built block towers that Ruby loved knocking down. Simone watched from the edges, guiding him when he stumbled. Don't try to fix their sadness, Mr. Bellamy. Just sit with them in it. What if I say the wrong thing? Then you say the wrong thing. They need you to try, not to be perfect. One Saturday morning, Simone brought seeds. Sunflower seeds. These were your mama's favorite, she told the girls softly. What do you say we plant some in the backyard? So every time they bloom, we can remember her smile. The girls nodded. Marcus knelt in the dirt beside them, hands shaking as he dug small holes. Ivy placed a seed carefully in the ground. Grace covered it with soil. Ruby patted it down gently. Will Mama see them? Ruby whispered. The first words she'd spoken to him in weeks. Marcus's voice broke. Yeah, baby. I think she will. That night, after tucking the girls into bed, Marcus found Simone in the kitchen. Thank you, he said quietly, for giving me another chance. She looked at him, her eyes kind but serious. Don't thank me yet, Mr. Bellamy. Thank me when those sunflowers bloom and you're still here. 3 months later, something shifted. It was small at first. Grace asking Marcus to help her tie her shoes. Ivy climbing into his lap while he read the newspaper. Ruby reaching for his hand when they crossed the street. Then one evening, Marcus came home from work and heard, Daddy's home. 3 voices. All at once. The girls ran to him, wrapping themselves around his legs, talking over each other about their day. Ivy had drawn a picture of a rainbow. Grace learned to count to 50. Ruby wanted to show him the dance Simone taught her. Marcus dropped his briefcase and sank to his knees, pulling them close. He buried his face in their hair and let himself cry. I love you girls, he whispered. I love you so much. We love you too, Daddy, they said. That Friday night, Marcus did something he hadn't done in 2 years. He cooked dinner. Well, Simone helped, heavily, but he tried. Spaghetti, garlic bread, salad. Nothing fancy. But it was made with his own hands. They set the table together. The girls folded napkins. Marcus lit candles. Simone brought out the pasta. They sat down as a family. For the first time in so long, the house felt warm. The silence was gone, replaced by the sound of forks clinking, stories being told, laughter bubbling up naturally. Grace told a joke she'd learned at preschool. Ruby spilled juice and giggled instead of crying. Ivy asked if they could do this every Friday. Every Friday, Marcus promised. And every other night too. Simone smiled across the table. Marcus looked at her, really looked at her, and saw what he'd been too blind to see before. She wasn't just the woman who'd saved his daughters. She'd saved him too. Later that night, after the girls were asleep, Marcus stood in the backyard. The sunflowers had sprouted. Small green shoots reaching toward the sky. Growing. Healing. Turning toward the light. Just like his family. He wasn't running anymore. He was finally home. 6 months after Simone returned, Marcus stood in the kitchen watching her braid Ruby's hair. The evening light poured through the windows, golden and warm. Grace was setting the table. Ivy was reading aloud from a picture book, her voice clear and confident. This was his life now. And he never wanted it to change. Simone, Marcus said quietly. Can we talk? After the girls go to bed. She looked up, nodding. Of course. Later, they sat on the back porch. The sunflowers had grown tall, their faces bright yellow, swaying gently in the breeze. I kept my promise, Marcus said. I've been here. Every day. And I'm not going anywhere. I know, Simone said softly. I see it. But there's something else. He turned to face her. Somewhere along the way, this stopped being just about the girls. You became more. To all of us. To me. Simone's breath caught. I'm not asking for anything you're not ready to give, Marcus continued. But I need you to know, you brought my daughters back to life. And you brought me back too. I don't want you here as an employee anymore, Simone. I want you here as family. Tears filled her eyes. Marcus. I love you, he said simply. And if you'll let me, I want to spend the rest of my life showing you and those girls that presence is the only currency that matters. Simone reached for his hand. I love you too. I think I have for a while now. Inside, the girls pressed their faces against the window, watching. Ruby whispered, Is Miss Simone gonna stay forever? I think so, Ivy whispered back. Grace grinned. Good. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. The sunflowers stood tall in Lauren's memory, a reminder that grief doesn't have to be the end. That love grows even in broken soil. That healing is possible when you stop running and finally come home. Marcus Bellamy had built an empire worth hundreds of millions. But sitting on that porch, holding Simone's hand, listening to his daughters laugh inside, he finally understood what true wealth looked like. It looked like this. It looked like love. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that the people in your life matter more than the deals you're chasing, the money you're making, or the image you're protecting, then don't just scroll past. Subscribe. Not because I need you to, but because stories like this need to be told. And maybe, just maybe, you need to hear them. Because one day you'll look up from your phone, your laptop, your work, and realize the people you love have been waiting for you to come home. Don't let that day come too late.